This morning, I heard the news that a man from your mom's hometown passed away after battling cancer. He was more handsome than movie actors and was very popular among the girls. He was also my relative, so we were very close, often doing homework together at my house. He always ranked first in school, so I sometimes felt jealous. But when I moved to a different city for high school, our lives drifted apart. I settled in the United States and became busy with my own life, cutting off contact with my hometown friends. When I visited South Korea a few years ago, I visited my hometown and met all of my childhood friends. It was then that I heard about him. He had become a scientist and a professor, teaching students at a prestigious university known for its focus on science education in Korea. Before returning to the United States, we met for dinner together. He still looked smart and handsome, but there was something about his face that seemed troubled. While living in the United States, I had drifted apart from my childhood friends in my hometown. However, when I heard about the deaths of my close friends, through your aunt living in Korea, memories of those friends flooded back, prompting me to revisit thoughts and emotions about my hometown while meditating. According to the news relayed by your aunt, that friend eventually succumbed to cancer, and all of our hometown classmates gathered for his funeral. I also heard that they were all deeply saddened by his death. Among my approximately 100 hometown classmates, I wonder how many have already passed away. Some friends have passed away before the age of 30 due to traffic accidents, while others have succumbed to illnesses. Just from what I've heard, the number is already over 10. In our youth, all of us hometown friends left for different cities and schools from high school onward. But when we reunited during holidays in our hometown, we often exchanged stories about human nature. My relative, who sadly passed away, this time was a devout Christian. At that time, I had a nihilistic tendency, pondering what humans live for, feeling that human life was truly empty. He even gave me the Bible as a gift to try to preach to me and lead me to church. The common belief between him and me was that God exists. However, we had completely different thoughts on how individuals could confirm the existence of God, leading to numerous arguments and debates. He believed that the reason for the existence of people and the world is because they were created by God. He argued that if we deny the Creator's creation, it ironically implies that we ourselves do not exist. Therefore, he stated that unquestionably, believing in the existence of the Creator is the answer. While we agreed that the existence of a being who created people and the world implies our own existence, I couldn't accept unquestioning belief in the Creator without doubt. I desired to verify the reasons behind the creation of the world and humanity by the Creator. While meditating, I always wanted to explore the doubts I had about the Creator. I sought answers to my questions through various meditation methods, but even finding the right meditation technique took a lot of time. If I couldn't find answers through this last meditation method I encountered, I thought I would just live an ordinary life until facing death. Following the given meditation method, I found that as I discarded the programs of life embedded in my mind, I discovered the stubborn and arrogant nature within me that refuses to believe or acknowledge anything not confirmed by myself. So, I sought to find answers to what life is, why the Creator created the world, and I explored various meditation methods in an attempt to find answers to these questions. Sometimes I even entertained the crazy idea of going to the caves of the Himalayas, where meditation practitioners perform their practices, and attempting meditation while eating dried grains. For that reason, somewhere in the sacred mountains of the Himalayas, it seemed there might be a true mentor who could reveal the reason and purpose of human existence and help understand what death truly is. Through meditation, where I discarded all the records of my past stored in my mind, I discovered that the answers to who I am, what truth is, and what the purpose of life is, all lie within my mind. Realizing this, I came to understand that true enlightened individuals are meant to be among the people in bustling cities. True enlightened individuals, in order to help ordinary people transcend suffering and attain truth, must live among large communities. This is a natural principle that has been realized. In the ancient tales passed down like legends, it is said that deep in the mountains, disciples undergo meditation to attain enlightenment from their teachers. Once enlightened, the teachers guide their disciples to become embodiments of truth and assist others in the world on their paths to enlightenment. What might my relative have thought in the moment of death, having battled cancer to live? Did he accept his death as a journey to heaven, relieved to shed his worn-out physical shell like dirty cloth? Daughter, one never knows when, where, or for what reason the body will perish. Many believe in the existence of the soul, but it is not so. The soul is merely the record of experiences, thoughts, and emotions engraved within the body like pages in a book. It lacks life. It's just a volume, resembling the body in form. The so-called soul people speak of is nothing but the deceased protagonist of their life story, existing only within the pages of a book. How will the Creator save humanity? Reflect on this question, seeking the answer within your heart. I hope the divine seed of holiness planted within your heart will sprout and grow. Dear daughter, growing up, observing my parents' tumultuous marriage, I developed a deeply negative view of marriage and family building. Their daily quarrels and constant blame shifting left a lasting impression on me. Witnessing their incessant fighting during my teenage years made it impossible for me to comprehend their conflicts. I couldn't understand why they chose to live together when they clearly didn't like each other. Wouldn't they be happier if they just divorced and found partners they truly loved? One day, I asked my mother why they stayed together, despite fighting every day. I suggested that divorce might be better. Her response was that they couldn't divorce because of us. She explained that if they divorced, one of them would lose use, and for the sake of our emotional stability, they couldn't bear that loss. As a daughter, I interpreted my mother's sacrifice for use as a resignation to an unhappy life. Despite my negative view of marriage, I found myself wondering why I got married. Through meditation, I delved into my inner thoughts and discovered the answer. Despite leading a fiercely competitive life, my emotional approach was cynical. I admired the lives of ascetics who pursued enlightenment but didn't want the austere, physically demanding life they led. Until I gained financial independence and a job, I had to conform to the rules set by my biological father. My childhood, marked by the need for parental care, left me feeling mentally humiliated and powerless. Rebelling against rules set by others, I detested conforming. Aware that I couldn't follow the strict religious rules, I gave up on the ascetic life and chose marriage. I hoped that through marriage, I could find emotional stability and compromise my desire for freedom. Marrying to gain emotional stability and to relinquish my rebellious desires seemed like the right choice at the time. I covered up my selfish desires by convincing myself that I was a good, obedient child who followed my mother's wishes. Through meditation, I realized I was merely a dreamer, not a diligent pursuer of my dreams. Uncovering the true nature of my childhood, I saw myself mirroring the despised aspects of my parents. As I discarded my masks, I felt grateful. Shedding the layers of deception revealed my true self, filled with gratitude and happiness. With each mask removed, the darkness in my mind dissipated, revealing the light of truth. Despite believing my marriage caused pain and hardship, I am deeply grateful for it. Enduring the struggles of my past marriage instilled in me a desire to break free and achieve true freedom through effort. Though I once dreamt of freedom without effort, my marital struggles taught me the importance of striving for what I truly desire. Through diligent meditation, I achieved my dream of complete freedom. I will talk to you soon, my daughter. Dear daughter, I had the most challenging words from a priest during my childhood. I attended Catholic church when I was young and also attended church while living in the United States. The question of my existence boiled down to who created me and how and where that creator exists. Thus, I sought answers to these questions through religious life, but I was not a devout believer. I believed in the existence of the Creator who brought the world and me into being, and I sought to understand how to verify that existence. Whenever I had time, I loved going to temples or churches because I enjoyed the tranquility and reverence felt in those places. Standing before the Creator, whom I knew existed though unseen, I felt comforted, like a baby cradled in its mother's arms, small and insignificant, yet free and peaceful. However, there were aspects of religious doctrines that I found incomprehensible and unacceptable. In Buddhism, it said that humans are born with karma inherited from their ancestors, and in Christianity, humans are born sinners and create actual sins. What are karma and sins, as defined in Buddhism and the Catholic Church, respectively? Why are humans said to be born with sin? How can a newborn baby be sinful? Furthermore, if everyone is considered a sinner, then wouldn't everyone go to hell upon death? If humans are born with sin, then humans can never go to heaven, I thought. What exactly constitutes human sin according to religious teachings? It's said that harming others is sinful, but in wars, killing many people can make one a hero or a saint. What is the criterion for sin in such circumstances? Even after consulting renowned monks and priests from the church I attended, I couldn't understand why humans are called sinners, or how one can cleanse sins. The priests said not believing in the Creator is a sin, while the monks said one becomes a Buddha by cleansing one's dirty mind, and that one can understand one's mind by observing it. The priests simply said, just believe. If you live righteously and believe in God, you will go to heaven and live happily ever after. If God is omnipresent, why can't I see or meet Him? The religious teachings that everything is God's will didn't make sense to me. However, through meditation, I realized that all those teachings are correct. Humans delude themselves into thinking they sustain their lives. Yet, if they ponder even slightly, they'll realize that they sustain themselves by taking lives of other beings. None of the materials humans use for sustenance, food, clothing, shelter, are created by humans. Humans use materials created by nature and rearrange them for convenience. Humans cannot create life themselves. They reproduce through sexual intercourse. They use materials existing in the universe to create various objects, but they cannot create life itself. The energy of nature that sustains all life belongs to the Creator. Humans merely rearrange materials in the universe to create objects. Through meditation, I realized that all thoughts and emotions recorded in my mind based on my bodily experiences are sins. The human mind itself is a sin. Good thoughts and emotions, as well as bad thoughts and emotions, are all sins. I realized that these are expressed as good and evil, respectively. Humans create thoughts and emotions based on bodily experiences and believe in concepts and customs regarding good and evil. They create angels and demons, heaven and hell within their minds and believe in them. Humans trap themselves in false beliefs, agonizing over them and sometimes practicing religion. All thoughts and emotions created by humans are sins. That's all there is to it. The original sin was that humans created good and evil themselves and believed in them, making it their destiny. Worshipping the heaven and hell, angels and demons that humans created in their minds is idolatry. By discarding everything I created in my mind and the world I thought was mine, I discovered the truth that existed within me all along and provided answers to all questions. Daughter, religion is both good and evil. Religious organizations have taught humanity the truth incessantly, but some corrupt priests have exploited the truth to fulfill their desires, using religious doctrines to manipulate and deceive people. Looking back through history, we see how religious beliefs have been used to drive many people into madness, massacring and exploiting ordinary people. History bears witness to how a few religious individuals used the Creator, who created us and our world, to satisfy their desires and manipulate the masses. Of course, there have been many truly pure spiritual leaders, but unfortunately, they did not wield religious power and simply disappeared after earnestly teaching the truth from their own positions. They lived bound by the concepts and customs of human-made goodness. Fellow meditators often open up to me, seeking answers to the questions arising from the uncertainties of their lives after years of practice. However, I cannot provide answers to those questions. I can only explain in detail the method my teachers taught me of abandoning oneself, and emphasize that each person must discard their karma, habits, and body to find answers within their own minds. The answer I can offer, completed by truth, is that when one discards the human mind covering the truth, the original truth is revealed, providing answers to all questions. People always seek to obtain something without effort or pain. They even expect someone else to resolve the issues within their minds. I am not a life counselor. I am merely someone who passes on the methods taught to me by my teachers. I guide others to discard their concepts, habits, and bodies, enabling them to find truth within their own minds. I do not answer questions about heaven. The answer lies within oneself. People must seek within themselves for the answer. If I were to provide an answer to the truth, people would interpret it positively or negatively according to their own thoughts and add it to their mental library. Everything added to the mind is considered a sin according to religion. Just as a blank piece of paper becomes dirty with writing, one's mind becomes impure with recorded thoughts and emotions. I am someone who explains and guides others on how to discard their concepts, habits, and bodies. All of us who meditate come to the same realization when we discard the world within our minds. Different religions, cultures, ages, and education levels do not matter. Everyone reaches the same conclusion. Therefore, when we share our meditation results, gender, culture, religion, age, and socioeconomic status disappear. We express what truth is and what human minds need to discard in our own languages and the languages of our respective religious organizations. We all realize what sin is and what truth is within ourselves. Therefore, we are grateful for the meditation method that helps us discard ourselves. When we discard the human world and human mind within us, we become the truth and find happiness. However, in the beginner stage, some practitioners, when told to discard their thoughts and emotions about their families, mistakenly perceive it as being asked to abandon their loved ones and angrily quit the meditation group. It's truly lamentable. These people accept the suggestion to discard their negative thoughts and emotions about their families as a directive to physically separate from them. They fail to deeply contemplate why relationships with their families cause stress, as their own belief in their infallibility is incredibly strong. Among materially poor individuals, there are those whose minds are filled with greed, constantly seeking to satisfy their desires. Conversely, there are mentally impoverished individuals among the materially wealthy, always feeling lacking in something. The saying that it is harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle speaks to the impossibility of the task. How could a camel pass through the eye of a needle? Those whose minds are deeply polluted with desires and emotions are deeply sinful. They have no interest in what truth is or what the kingdom of truth is. Their entire focus in life is solely on fulfilling material desires. They are rich in desires and greed. While it is necessary for humans, through labor, to earn income and sustain their bodies, if the purpose of life is solely to pollute one's mind with desires and greed to satisfy one's own selfish desires, then dedicating one's entire mind and body to those desires and greed only increases the weight and depth of sin. As material civilization advances, people become ensnared in the pursuit of material desires, making the fulfillment of those desires the purpose and joy of life. This is truly vulgar and deeply sinful. Both the mind that idolizes material possessions and the mind that disregards them must be discarded. Living within your own mind, you begin to discard yourself and become the most beautiful person. I will talk to you soon. The destiny bestowed upon you by the true self is happiness, freedom, joy, and eternal life. The true self has granted you the right to be happy, free, and filled with joy. As a child of the true self, you are given everything, yet you are not receiving all the happiness, freedom, and joy that the true self has bestowed upon you. Born of the true self, you live amidst all that belongs to the true self, yet without gratitude for the true self. You deny the true self. You love the life you've created. You love the death you've created. You love the desires you've created. You love the greed you've created. You love the happiness you've created. You love the unhappiness you've created. and you live resenting and blaming all that you've created, lost in the darkness you've created, wandering aimlessly. My daughter, it is time to end the weary and futile wanderings of the purposeless wanderer, trying to grasp the ungraspable rainbow of your own. It is time to return to the original home where your true parents await you. Beloved daughter, now it is time to discard the incomplete world and incomplete self you've created in your mind and return to the complete world. Why do you still turn away from the real you within your mind, wandering in search of your light in the minds of others? Why do you forget the complete light that you are and cry alone in the darkness? Time is running out. When the door of the true self is open, you must return as the complete you of the complete world. Once the door of the true self is closed, there will be no turning back, no matter how much you regret and beat the ground. Now is the time to find. Now is the only time to find. To my beloved daughter, yesterday, after our conversation that lasted over an hour, I found myself reflecting on the life of your maternal uncle, who is my younger brother. Your uncle has always been extremely popular with women since becoming an adult, and he still is. As a result, your aunt, his wife, often feels stressed due to your uncle's friendly demeanor towards all women, which sometimes leads to arguments between them. Before I started meditating, I used to think that your uncle's considerate behavior towards women and his attentive listening made him very popular among them. However, through meditation, I came to realize how much your uncle struggles with a lack of affection. It became apparent to me that your little uncle's life goal is to fill his maternal deprivation. He seeks to fulfill this deprivation through the attention of women, and he feels the void only when he receives their attention. Your little uncle grew up constantly being compared to his elder brother, my other sibling, who had exceptional qualities. Additionally, he faced neglect from our mother while growing up. Even to my young eyes, it was evident that there was discrimination in our mother's behavior and words towards my elder brother, the firstborn, and my younger brother, the second son. My elder brother's words were always trusted, whereas my younger brother's words were doubted. I witnessed this discrimination. From my mother's perspective, perhaps, she trusted the eldest son, who was intelligent and responsible, more. However, from my younger brother's perspective, it was discrimination, and he grew up feeling unloved and unrecognized by our mother. The wound of maternal deprivation deeply penetrated his heart. As I let go of memories of my younger brother, I cried a lot. I cried thinking about how much effort that child put in to receive love and recognition from our mother. As adults, women often try to gain favor with men by behaving in ways they believe men will like. This behavior stems from a desire to fill their own voids and gain acknowledgement and affection. During family gatherings in Korea, my brother's wife holds on to me and talks about how difficult her husband makes her life. I cannot intervene in my brother's marital problems, and even though I see the pain and illness in my brother's mind, I can't help him because he's not interested in meditation yet. They all believe they are right in their thoughts and are living their lives well, so there's nothing I can do. They are unable to consider that their past experiences might be affecting their present selves like puppets on strings. When a man and a woman enter into a marital relationship, they often believe they can find and fix each other's flaws. However, one cannot change another person. They can only support them if they want to change themselves. Therefore, I cannot help my siblings who are still trapped by shadows of their past experiences. People often think they can help others, but that help is usually limited to material assistance. One must have the will to change oneself if they wish to receive help. If someone believes they can cure their partner's emotional deficiencies, it's arrogance. While a partner may temporarily find solace in another's support, no one can cure the emotional deficiencies they carry. Once again, no one can resolve their emotional deficiencies. The only solution is to clean up the deficiencies and the self filled with them. Your little uncle, your boyfriend, everyone needs to delve into their inner selves and clean up the shadows of their emotionally deficient pasts. That's the quickest path to happiness. My dear, when I visited where you live last year and saw your friend who shares the apartment with you, I felt a deep sadness. Despite graduating from a prestigious university and having a job he enjoys, he constantly struggles with anxiety. The rapidly changing world makes it difficult for him to adapt due to his anxiety, leading to frustration and immersion in negative emotions. As a result, he finds it stressful to make new friends and socialize, retreating into his own space, trapped in the life of a young person overwhelmed by loneliness. Oh, how lonely he must feel. How deeply sad he must be, often contemplating giving up on life. I can still hear the voice of your friend, standing on the edge, desperately trying not to be swept away by the wind, pleading for help. It still concerns me deeply. My daughter, if you, through meditation and inner cleansing, discover the true you and live a life of genuine joy and happiness, you could empathize with the painful minds of those close to you. You could show them a path to escape from their pain and live joyfully and happily. It saddens me to think about this. While your own happiness is important, it's only a small happiness. I wish for the happiness of those close to you to grow alongside yours. If your friend, who shares the apartment with you, finds happiness, your living space will be filled with even greater joy. True help for a friend lies not in passing words of comfort, but in empathizing with their pain and showing them a way out. It's about helping them find unwavering happiness within themselves and guiding them toward it. My dear, I hope that you, by discovering the true you within your mind and finding real joy and happiness in life, can help all your close friends live such joyful and beautiful lives. My daughter, think quietly for a moment. Inside us, there is a kind heart. When we help everyone we meet to find happiness, their happiness becomes our joy. When we all live together, helping each other, we can find even greater happiness. If you realize that true help for others lies in helping them completely overcome their pain, wouldn't that be better? So, take a moment to think about how you can help your lonely friend who is still immersed in negative emotions. The reason I recommend meditation to you is that although it may not be evident yet, you need to bring out the anxieties dormant within you. Identify the root causes of your friend's anxiety. Confirm that they have been eliminated and discover your true self. When you find your true self, you will be able to help your friend who struggles with anxiety. If you have even a little bit of the kind thought of wanting to help others in your mind, remember, you must first help yourself. You must find the true love and happiness within your mind. To do that, You must let go of all happiness and love for yourself so that you can discover genuine happiness and love to share with others. Without pure love and happiness within your mind, thinking that you empathize with others, communicate with them, and help them is nothing but spiritual arrogance. Since childhood, I've been someone who pays excessive attention to the gaze of parents, relatives, and others. All my nerve cells have always been preoccupied with what others might think about my behaviors and the words I use, except when I'm asleep. Despite realizing that this habit of mine quickly tires and ages my nerve cells, it hasn't been corrected through effort. Amidst the thoughts and myriad emotions I experience in life, there was a part of me that feared negative evaluations from others. Being someone who considered the judgments of others most important, I found myself paradoxically desiring social interaction while making efforts to avoid meeting people whenever possible. While I enjoyed being around people, I was also afraid of their exhaustion and the discord among them. Living in relationships where I always watched the reactions of others and tried not to emotionally hurt them made me feel the futility of life. I began to feel lonely and hollow as I lost sight of the true purpose of my life, consumed by the need to conform to the expectations of my parents and others. I wanted to live a confident and appropriately self-assured life, not one swayed by the expectations of family and siblings. However, while desiring my own complete life, I couldn't escape from the life conditioned by my parents and others. Already, my whole mind and body were tamed, and though I wanted to change, I couldn't. Through meditation, I saw many versions of myself, tamed by parents and others, within my inner self. I discovered that I had been tethered to a leash for a long time, and though I yearned for freedom from it, I also found myself afraid to break it. As my meditation deepened, I couldn't even imagine how diverse the versions of myself within me were. Without expressing it in words, there were so many different versions of me. I, possessing all the attributes of characters in novels, movies, and dramas, existed within my mind. So, I was deeply grateful for the ways to discard that version of me and to the teachers who showed me how. And as I found and discarded the version of myself I had believed to be me, I discovered who I truly am. Amidst discarding the shadow that had covered the real me, I remained, and I continue to respect others and live my life. However, it's not out of selfishness or selflessness, but out of love for the world and others. That love remains unswayed by the opinions of others. My beloved daughter, I hope you live a life that is unwavering to anything and anyone. My beloved daughter, while at the mart, I hesitated for a while, contemplating whether to buy a tumbler or not, but eventually decided to leave without purchasing it. During my evening meditation, I pondered why I always feel the urge to buy a new tumbler whenever I see one with a different design. Whether I visit a coffee shop or travel, my attention is always drawn to the tumblers displayed in the shops. However, I'm not someone who frequently uses tumblers. They are simply items I use occasionally when I want to leisurely enjoy a cup of coffee. So why do I feel the need to buy various tumblers and keep them in the cupboard? Upon returning home, I closed my eyes and sat quietly, wanting to uncover the underlying desire for tumblers deeply embedded in my mind. As I closed my eyes for a moment, I began to search for childhood memories buried within my mind. And then I discovered the reason behind my unnecessary purchases of tumblers. Memories that I had long forgotten resurfaced. It was back in first grade when my school organized its first field trip. On that day, every student brought their own tumbler filled with water, along with their lunchboxes and various snacks, packed in their backpacks for the outing. My mother, who was very frugal, refused to buy me a tumbler with cartoon characters that other kids liked. She thought it was a waste of money to buy a tumbler for school outings that occurred only twice a year. Instead, my mother sewed a cover onto a large, empty white vitamin bottle and attached a strap to it, filling it with water for me. I begged my mother to buy me a tumbler with pretty pictures on it, but she refused my request. I felt deeply disappointed and resentful towards my mother for not fulfilling my wish. My self-esteem was deeply wounded when I saw my friends' tumblers and realized that mine was different. Feeling ashamed and embarrassed about my tumbler, I threw the fake tumbler my mother had made into the woods during the trip. I didn't want to carry the fake tumbler, so I lied to my mother, telling her that I had lost it when I returned home that evening. Although my lie went undetected by my mother, I now realize that it was my first act of deceit and a complete betrayal of trust. The emotions of hurt and depression I experienced because of the tumbler continue to linger within me even as an adult. The desire for tumblers that still existed in my heart from my childhood memories was the reason behind my compulsive purchases of them. All my actions of unnecessary spending were rooted in the unmet desires of my childhood. I laughed for a long time during meditation, realizing how my past desires, left unfulfilled and deficient, manifested into various actions in adulthood in an attempt to satisfy them. And I let go of the memories of happiness I had felt when my childhood desires were fulfilled. These fulfilled desires led to the creation of new desires, which, if not discarded, would keep me enslaved to my past and prevent me from living in the present and future. I let go of the past version of myself, plagued by a sense of lack about tumblers. Now, I don't think I'll be buying unnecessary tumblers anymore. All my present actions are shadows of the past me, and I can find all the causes within my heart. And when I find the causes, I can discard them, change them. If I don't discard them, even after finding them, my shadow behaviors won't change. Meditation is about discarding every version of myself in my mind, every thought, and every emotion of the past. To live faithfully in the present is to be successful. Dear daughter, as I raised you, I felt a profound sense of responsibility. I often pondered and reflected on my notions and customs of responsibility toward you. During my meditation, I frequently explored and discarded many parts of my inner self. Before marriage, my sense of responsibility was directed toward my parents and siblings. After marriage, it extended to the new family created by my union. This excessive sense of responsibility toward my blood relatives caused me tremendous stress, a realization I only came to understand through meditation. I became aware that I was addicted to the feeling of responsibility. I married to escape this overwhelming sense of duty to my family, only to find that I had merely added a new family to my list of responsibilities, creating an even larger and more challenging burden. Through marriage, I took on traditional responsibilities, and with your birth, I felt responsible for you and your father's family. My life revolved around adhering to these ingrained notions of responsibility, enduring the heavy weight of this life to uphold them. The stress of responsibility led to a nervous breakdown, chronic constipation, and indigestion. As I let go of these issues, I realized that I had been tirelessly upholding my internalized notions of responsibility. I discovered that I had never truly taken responsibility for my relationships. My efforts to be responsible for my family were, in fact, false. I was merely trying to uphold the responsibilities dictated by my thoughts. I came to see that I was trapped in the arrogance of believing myself to be a responsible person for my family. This arrogance was intertwined with my pride. I was confident that I was a responsible mother to you, but witnessing the hurt you experienced due to my actions, I couldn't understand your reaction at the time. Meditation revealed that I wasn't truly responsible for you. I was living according to my own ideas of responsibility, and for that, I am deeply sorry. Once I discarded my notions of responsibility toward you, I saw you for who you truly are. What you needed as a child was my warm interest and consideration, which I failed to provide. Instead, I focused on teaching you how to survive in the competitive world outside, thinking that was my duty and love for you. My dear, to bear true responsibility, one must eliminate the self-imposed responsibilities created by their own thoughts. Only when these ingrained notions and customs of responsibility are gone, and one's heart is aligned with truth, can one possess the wisdom to truly understand and help others' needs. People often believe they are helping others, but they are actually upholding their rigid thoughts. Without letting go of these preconceived notions, you can't truly help or understand another person. By letting go of your notions and customs, you cease to be a slave to them and become the master of your own life. Dear daughter, the anger festering in my mind, left unchecked, drove away many connections that cherished and loved me. As I discarded the anger that had accumulated in my mind through meditation, I realized that every moment my desires spawned various emotions. I lived thinking that I was happy because of my desires, not because of true happiness. Among these emotions, anger as a monstrous creature accumulates in one's mind, growing larger with each incident, manifesting through violent language and actions. People become slaves to this anger, resulting in havoc. What's even more terrifying is that after the rampage of anger, one might start nurturing either a sense of shameful regret for not controlling it or a perverse joy in expressing it, leading to nurturing even more monstrous inclinations. It's important to understand that the root of anger isn't always oneself, but often attributed to others, leading to the creation of a victimhood mentality. This can escalate to verbal or physical violence. The genetic predisposition and self-inflicted anger become ingrained within oneself, fostering a destructive emotion. Thus, the true enemy lies within, the anger residing in one's mind. If one does not harbor selfish anger within, they won't be angered by anything, leading to eternal peace. Therefore, the journey to freedom from anger starts with eliminating the anger monsters within. As I embarked on this journey, I discovered numerous types of anger monsters residing within me. I realized how I had appeared outwardly righteous while inwardly battling raging wolves, ready to lash out at anyone who slighted my ego. My dear daughter, my mother always advised me repeatedly. When you grow up and consider marriage, it's imperative to understand the environment your potential partner grew up in. No matter how decent they may seem, understanding their emotional upbringing reveals the kind of home they'd build with you. I couldn't grasp the wisdom in her words then, but through meditation, I now understand her profound life experiences. Material abundance or scarcity can be overcome with effort, but emotional deprivation from upbringing is insurmountable without letting go through meditation. Someone deeply emotionally lacking will always wander, seeking to fill that void, regardless of material wealth. You're still living as a good person, but what resides in your mind? Instead of being consumed by the monsters of desire and their accompanying toxic emotions, I wish for you to meditate and become the true master of your life, confident, happy, and free. I hope you listen to my words with your heart, and I will talk to you next time. My beloved daughter, my habitual tendency to worry incessantly has led me into a state of sleep deprivation, despite being tired. This lack of sleep has started to deteriorate my health, leaving me unable to properly digest even food and water. The habitual thoughts of worrying about daily routines and future uncertainties have created feelings of anxiety and fear, leading me to react nervously to even minor issues. As I meditated, I began to let go of the worry-filled version of myself living within my mind, asking myself, what do I worry about the most? Why do I worry so much? To understand the root cause, I started delving into the records of worries stored in my mind. The majority of these records were dominated by the image and voice of my mother, who always worried about her children. I started to reconnect with my childhood self, emotionally reliant on my mother's comforting presence. My mother, who was always anxious, especially about her children's futures, imprinted her worries onto me as positive attributes, shaping my habitual anxious thoughts. Through automatic learning, I realized that my habit of worrying had become ingrained in my personality. Encountering each version of myself from the past, I discovered why I had been living with unnecessary worries and fears. My mother's worrying habits had been deeply embedded within me, making her worries my own. Despite my current conditions and environment not warranting worry, my mother's worrying habits and voice had been stamped into my mind like a seal. Even though I tried to avoid worrying, it had already become a daily habit. Through meditation, I unearthed the root causes of my habitual worrying thoughts. I understood that if I didn't erase the records of worrying people within my mind, they would become my destiny. If I allowed the numerous worry monsters residing within me to remain, their thoughts would attract negative outcomes into my life. I realized the power of thoughts and how they could shape one's future. Understanding why my meditation teachers emphasize discarding everything within my mind as worthless became clear to me. My dear daughter, I believed that worrying about you was an expression of my love for you. However, through meditation, I realized that my worries about you, though invisible, sent negative vibrations your way. I understood that the worry monsters within me were killing me and harming you, the object of my worries. A fierce internal battle began as I closed my eyes and started to discard all the worry monsters living within me. I also learned that traditional Korean cultural beliefs mistakenly equated worrying about relationships with love. I grew up believing that my mother's worries about money and our health, all done to support her children's success, were acts of love. While I despised seeing your unhappy grandmother worrying about you every day, I came to the realization that I was living just like her. The worry monsters within me, living and breathing, were gaining weight and multiplying over time. I discovered that if I didn't eliminate these worry monsters from my mind, I would become their slave, dragged through life by their whims. As the worry monsters dominating my life began to disappear from my mind, the freedom I gained brought me joy and gratitude in the simplest things of life, like clouds, wind, sun, and even a cheap cup of coffee from a street vendor. My beloved daughter, take a moment to explore what worry monsters reside within your heart. If they burden you, begin the meditation practice of discarding them. Let's talk more about this next time. My dear friend, I want to express my admiration and gratitude for your courage. Honestly, I didn't want to show others what I discovered while meditating through my mind. I was afraid my dirty thoughts would be exposed to others. I thought everyone was ready to blame me at any moment. Even during practice, I never wanted to show my mind to anyone, so my pride and inferiority were too great. But when I see you, I think you're truly courageous. So, no matter what thoughts or emotions are recorded in your mind, don't be ashamed of yourself. Just acknowledge the courage in your mind and tell yourself that those who discard it are truly beautiful. I was someone whose mind was dirtier than yours, so I felt ashamed of myself during meditation practice. It's the people who don't discard the garbage in their minds who should be ashamed, and it's okay for those who do to be proud of themselves. I hope you realize that it's rare and precious for someone to courageously acknowledge the garbage in their mind and strive to discard it. I hope you never forget that I always support you in your fight to discard your mind world and find true happiness. I will talk to you soon. Thank you. My daughter. As I began practicing meditation in the beginner's course, I started to let go of my worries. Among the various emotions I have, the feeling of worry in particular clung to me like skin, becoming a natural part of me. The saying, "Worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair," felt tailor-made for me. Worries about family, money, home, myself, and even worries about household items consumed me every moment. Perhaps if there were a competition for worrying, I might have won first place worldwide. I dedicated about 2 months intensively to meditation, aiming to find and discard the worries embedded within me. And suddenly, I discovered myself not worrying. I was amazed to find that the worrying part of me was gradually fading away. Simultaneously, I became aware of my worrying self and marveled at how I was automatically detaching from worries during meditation. As my worrying lessened, the health of my body also improved. But strangely, as I found myself worrying less, I began to worry about not worrying. I discovered the reason for this as well. I had become so accustomed to worrying that the absence of worry made me anxious. Worry had become a habit, a way for me to feel alive. Through meditation, I learned that many people hesitate to let go of their negative emotions, even though they find them tiresome and stressful. a student from Mongolia who began practicing meditation with me, eventually stopped. She had experienced an incident in her childhood where her parents left her alone at night, triggering a fear of darkness that persisted into adulthood. Despite attempts to let go of these memories during meditation, she sought comfort from others instead of confronting her fears. She hoped for continuous reassurance from her meditation companions, using her trauma to gain attention. Eventually, as nobody wanted to hear her stories anymore, she left resentfully. While sharing stories over tea with my meditation companions, I realized that humans often exploit their negative emotions for personal gain. I, too, recognized that beneath my worrying habit was a desire for self-validation. I mistakenly believed that worrying about everything around me was a way of showing love. My beloved daughter, humans constantly seek validation from others to feel their worth, often because they have lost their true selves. Until one achieves enlightenment, true happiness, the purpose of life remains elusive, like trying to grasp a rainbow. Throughout history, various religions have sought to define truth, but for the common person, becoming the truth is impossible. Truth often challenges our everyday beliefs, appearing different from our perceptions. The truth is not far away. It resides at the very bottom of your mind. When you start cleansing the world your mind has created and yourself within it, the light of true truth begins to shine from within you. Real truth is utterly ordinary. It's nothing exceptional. Everything in this world is complete just as it is. Notions of superiority or inferiority are mere illusions created by human thoughts. When you search for the essence of this world within your mind, you can solve problems that even the most learned scientists cannot. My daughter, stay healthy, and let's talk again next time. My beloved daughter, today, I want to talk to you about the reactions that occur in the body during meditation. Through meditation, when one lets go of their mind, various reactions can manifest in the body. Even those who believe their bodies to be healthy can experience various phenomena during meditation. Our bodies, from birth to the present moment, accumulate experiences, thoughts, and emotions, recording everything in our cellular memory. This is our unique mind. The body serves as a vast repository of these records. As we meditate and release the body's accumulated records, the body becomes lighter and healthier. We also come to realize how the thoughts and emotions we've stored can impact our physical well-being. Just like neglecting to clean a machine leads to the accumulation of impurities and eventual breakdown, similarly, our bodies suffer when we don't cleanse them of accumulated emotional and mental baggage. My dear daughter, even now, when I meditate, I still feel a twisting pain in my neck. That discomfort is merely the process of shedding mental residue and self-correcting. So, the bodily sensations that arise when the mind dissolves during meditation are nothing extraordinary. It's natural that as we discard thoughts and emotions stored in our bodies, the body becomes lighter and healthier. However, it's important not to be greedy for physical health through meditation. Coveting good health can ironically harm it. If one desires a healthy body, they should focus on consuming nutritious food and engaging in regular exercise. Meditation aids in alleviating stress-induced illnesses, gradually leading to improved physical health. Diseases of the body and mind due to stress stem from our own perceptions and habitual desires. Therefore, even the desire for bodily health should be relinquished. Thoughts and emotions also carry vibrations. Each material object is essentially a vibration. People often perceive only through the senses of the physical body. Through meditation, one comes to understand that the material world consists of various vibrations. They realize how thoughts and emotions stored within them can harm their bodies without their awareness. What I want to tell you is that the bodily sensations experienced during meditation are nothing extraordinary. It's simply a process of the mind dissolving, understanding that even the physical body, which we believe to exist, is just a wave. As meditation deepens, the perception of oneself disappears and everything fades away. At that moment, neither I nor the world exist. Only the eternal essence of everything remains. Then both the world and I exist anew. I hope these words are helpful to you. Stay healthy, and let's talk again next time. My beloved daughter, I lived without knowing how precious and valuable my body was. I mistakenly believed I lived valuing my body. However, through meditation, I came to recognize the daily habits of my body that I had never paid attention to before, and I realized how much I had wasted my precious body on meaningless acts. I saw clearly that I had exhausted my precious physical self to satisfy desires rooted within. All the books I read, the food I enjoyed, the clothes I wore, the drinks I indulged in, what were they for, I questioned. So I let go of all the actions I had done with my mind. In doing so, I understood the reasons and causes behind all my actions. The habitual bodily actions I engaged in were manifestations of desires and cravings I had built within my mind, using my body to express them. My thoughts created egos through the body, generating desires, and those desires eventually became the master, utilizing the body as a tool. To return to my true self, I had to discard the idea that this body was me, and even the idea that I existed. Ultimately, trapped in the body, my thoughts recognized only physical existence, unable to see beyond. Then, the question arose, what is my body? As my meditation deepened and my egos and desires began to fade away, I realized that the material world and the material body were non-existent. If one equates oneself with the body, one knows that they are born, live, age, become ill, and die. And I discovered that this imperfect material world and material body are crucial tools for creating the real world and the real self. Could it be said that this imperfect material world and material body are simulations created by the Creator to form a perfect world? With the disappearance of desires and egos, one can understand the purpose of one's existence, to become one's complete self. The reason and purpose for your body's existence are to become your complete self. Explaining this to you might be difficult for you to understand. Therefore, through meditation, I urge you to examine your own mind. I emphasize once again, the reason and purpose for your birth are to become your complete self. May your precious life not be solely dedicated to fulfilling emotional hunger and physical desires, believing that to be your happiness, only to one day age and fall ill, disappearing completely. The death of the body is like discarding worn-out clothes. When you know who you truly are and live your life, there is true joy and happiness. In all your daily encounters, in the people you meet, in the sky you face, in the wind you feel, in the rain you encounter, be grateful, joyful, and happy. Many people live trapped in the finite time and space of the body and eventually fade away. Humans are noble and sacred beings. However, if one only strives for their worth in the consumption and life of the finite body, they have no value. They are just like ordinary animals, or even like the famous AI robots of today. Just as a beautiful gemstone buried deep in the earth must be polished by a craftsman to become a precious gem, if that gem remains buried as a rough stone and one day shatters and disappears, it is nothing but a worthless rock. To find one's true worth, one must discard the karma, habits, and body recorded within self. Instead of becoming a worthless stone that disappears, discard the false self and become the true self, which is valuable and beautiful. This is possible only when the body is alive. It is impossible without the body. Just as a gem cannot be transformed into a valuable gemstone without the rough stone, humans must have a body called the rough stone to be transformed into a valuable gem. There is a way to make oneself beautiful and valuable. By discarding the false self, one can become a valuable and beautiful truth. Only by becoming the truth can one live in the land of truth. Only the truth is eternal and complete. The perfect and eternal land cannot be known by human concepts and customs, nor can it be imagined by human imagination. It is a land of joy, happiness, and freedom beyond human imagination. It is a land without lack. I understand very well why many people stop meditating. However, having overcome the difficult struggle with myself and become the truth, I cannot help but feel sorry for those who have left in that way. Think about it, daughter. How much effort do you put into preserving the body that will last about 100 years? This meditation simply requires about an hour a day to consistently discard what is in your mind. Even if you do it for about 10 years, you will become free from much suffering and burdens you have created within your mind, and you will become happier. There is no reason not to meditate. Now, live not only for the body, but also for your mind. I will talk to you soon. Be well, my daughter. My daughter, as you end the day and lie in bed, close your eyes and have a brief conversation with yourself. Think about moments when you felt happy. Reflect on why you felt happy. Remember what you were thinking while feeling happy. During those moments of happiness, did you only have pure happiness, or were there other emotions mixed with happiness? Ask yourself during those moments of happiness, did you truly feel only happiness? Now, recall moments when you felt unhappy. Think about why you felt unhappy. Remember what made you feel unhappy. Ask yourself during those moments of unhappiness, why did you feel unhappy? What do you think happiness is? What do you think unhappiness is? Only you can answer these questions. If you listen to the honest answers from your mind, you will make a remarkable discovery. Realize that the concepts of happiness and unhappiness constructed by your mind can make you both happy and unhappy. Then you will know how to become happy. Break the concepts you hold about happiness and unhappiness. By breaking free from these narrow views, you will realize there is greater happiness beyond, not confined to the limited concepts you hold. My dear, no one in this world and nothing in this world can give you true happiness. I hope you won't waste your life seeking happiness from others. Your happiness can only be given by yourself. Stay healthy and see you next time. Do you remember Mom's friend Amy? She started meditating after seeing how I was changing while meditating. But she stopped meditating after just a month, saying she couldn't do it anymore. Then, after a couple of months, she came back, saying she needed to start again. I never asked her why she stopped meditating, and later I asked her about it. She said she didn't want to admit that the records of her past thoughts and emotions inside her mind were too dirty when she brought them out and threw them away. So she closed her mind and ran away. However, after thinking for many days, she realized she didn't want to live with the records of her thoughts and emotions inside her mind. So she gathered the courage to clean her mind and started meditating again. I was the same. In my mind, library, there were videos of my entire past, and as I threw them away, I realized that all my actions in life were just masks. I was just an actress following the script of life without ever living as myself. I had packaged myself in various beautiful ways and deceived myself into thinking that was who I was. But as I threw away those masks during meditation, I realized the unmasked me wasn't a good person. It was a shock to discover the negative thoughts and emotions covering my mind, realizing that my whole life was collapsing. But as I meditated, I saw my negative thoughts and emotions being discarded, and my mind becoming cleaner and clearer, giving me hope that cleaning my mind was possible. So I diligently continued meditating. However, as meditation deepened, I realized that both my negative and positive thoughts were constructs of my own notions of good and evil. At the beginning of meditation, I realized I was judging my mind according to my own notions of good and evil. Still, at first, cleaning my mind was the beginning of meditation, and there was an effect of feeling lighter and more comfortable as I cleaned away the negative thoughts and emotions in my mind. Confirming that cleaning the mind was possible, I gradually began to feel the joy of meditation. Amy and I had happy times walking along New York's East River until dawn, talking about cleaning our minds. My beloved daughter, I graduated from middle school and attended high school at your aunt's house in the city. Coming from the countryside, I didn't have the chance to experience anywhere else in the city except for my aunt's house and school, like the typical high school students at that time. Occasionally, I would take a bus for about an hour to run errands for my aunt, delivering items to the busiest street in the city. Those errands made me realize that the time I spent going to my aunt's house was the only reminder of my life, transitioning from a small rural village to the city. Along the neatly paved streets, lined with colorful shops, bustling with well-dressed city folks, amidst the hustle and bustle, I often felt like a stranger from another planet among the multitude of people. But over about a year, I gradually adapted to life, both at school and in the city. It was spring, the beginning of my second year of high school. The house where I stayed with my aunt was near a famous beach, and the neighboring houses had quaint fences and colorful gates, each with a small yard adorned with a magnolia tree. In spring, the large white magnolia blossoms would bloom profusely. On mornings when magnolias were in full bloom, mixed with the scent of flowers, the sea breeze carried the fragrance, and I would sit on a small rock in the corner of the yard, gazing at the sky, feeling a vague longing. My aunt would tease me, saying I looked lost in my thoughts whenever I sat there quietly. Even on Sundays when I didn't have to go to school, I found myself on a bus heading to the bustling downtown area of the city for my aunt's errands. Since our neighborhood was the bus terminus, I would sit in my favorite seat on the empty bus, watching the scenery outside the window and the sunlight reflecting on the glass, contemplating about my future. As time passed, the bus started filling up with people, and one day, an elderly lady with a cane boarded at a bus stop. Being a student, I quickly stood up and offered her my seat. As she thanked me and complimented my appearance, I felt my face turning red with embarrassment. Turning my head, I noticed a college student sitting behind me, staring at me. Our eyes met briefly, and I turned back, looking out the window, pretending not to notice. That incident left me feeling uneasy, but I soon forgot about the college student as we reached our destination. Lost in my thoughts, I finished my aunt's errands and found myself gazing at the clothes displayed on the mannequins in the store, reminiscing about my family back home. I dreamed of graduating from school, earning money, and buying beautiful clothes for my mother and siblings. I wished for my hardworking mother, always dressed in work clothes, to wear something pretty and go on a family trip together. I suddenly heard someone saying hello behind me. Startled, I turned around to find the college student who had stared at me on the bus. He quickly introduced himself, explaining that he had followed me from the bus stop out of curiosity. He was a sophomore in college, waiting for the bus to the library when he saw me and decided to follow. At that moment, I was too timid to respond, my mind frozen, unable to think. Without saying a word, I quickly made an excuse and boarded the bus home, even though he continued to follow me. I wanted to ask why he was following me, but I couldn't bring myself to speak up. Arriving home, I tried to brush off the encounter as just a strange happening. The following day at school, I shared the experience with my close friends. Their imaginations ran wild, concocting romantic stories about my encounter with the college student. Their fantasies amused me, but little did I know that the encounter would turn into a real-life romance. I thought the incident would end as a mere happening, but a week later, after school, I found the college student waiting for me at the school gate. He handed me a letter and waved goodbye before disappearing. My friends were ecstatic, but I was bewildered, not knowing how to react. During my high school years, dating could lead to expulsion, and being from a conservative rural background, dating before the age of 20 was strictly forbidden. Back then, even for a brief outing, students had to wear their school uniforms with a school badge displayed. Sometimes teenagers would sneak out in regular clothes, only to face severe consequences if caught, with their names prominently displayed at the school gate, along with the punishments assigned. I grew up with a sense of responsibility not to disappoint my mother, who worked hard in our small village. Dating before turning 20 was considered a taboo. The college student had managed to find out which school I attended by recognizing my school uniform and badge. Thus began my first love. He would wait for me diligently every day, handing me letters and occasional gifts, showing genuine affection and warmth. The letters were filled with heartfelt sentiments and depicted his family life in contrast to my humble upbringing in the countryside. He came from a more affluent household, where he received love and attention from his warm-hearted parents. His consistent presence and gestures gradually endeared him to me. On rainy days, he would offer me his umbrella, and over time, I found solace in his company. During school outings, he would join our group, trying to blend in with my friends, but his presence stood out, drawing everyone's attention. My friends teased me endlessly, encouraging me to reciprocate his feelings. They would remind me of the romantic stories they had concocted, but I remained cautious, aware of the societal norms and my family's expectations. Despite my reservations, I couldn't deny the growing attraction and affection I felt towards him. He was persistent and patient, never pressuring me to reciprocate his feelings. Gradually, I began to open up to him, sharing my dreams, fears, and aspirations. He listened attentively, offering encouragement and support, igniting a spark of hope within me. Our bond deepened with each passing day, and I found myself falling for him, despite my initial hesitations. As our high school years drew to a close, I faced a dilemma, torn between societal expectations and matters of the mind. Ultimately, I chose love over tradition, taking a leap of faith into the unknown, guided by the warmth and affection I found in his embrace. Our love story transcended barriers, overcoming societal norms and family expectations, blossoming into a lifelong partnership built on trust, understanding, and unconditional love. Years later, as I reflect on our journey, I realize that love knows no boundaries, transcending time and space, leading us on a path filled with endless possibilities and infinite joy. My beloved daughter, I hope you found my love story intriguing. I'll get in touch with you again soon. Daughter, this is the story of a past love I never told you about. It was about 2 years after I started meditating when the seal on the colossal and complex monster of desire for love, which had been locked away in my mind, was broken, and it went berserk to devour the real me in the world of my mind. I believed that when I left behind the first love monster that the country girl had dreamed of, and the scars of that monster, and became free and happy from love, all the monsters of desire for love in my mind disappeared. But one day I received a call from a man from South Korea. He was someone who I had briefly exchanged greetings with when I visited my friend's office 10 years ago. At that time, both he and I were married, so I just greeted him as my friend's business partner. He said he came to the United States for his work and wanted to have a drink with me, so he got my number from my friend and contacted me. I met him, thinking of catching up on my friend's news, as he was my friend's business partner. When I met him, we exchanged various trivial stories, and he told me about his feelings for me that I never imagined he had. He said that from the moment he saw me at my friend's office 10 years ago, I was his ideal type, and he had missed me from then until now. So he asked how I was living, and said that having a drink with me just once was his long-cherished dream. I listened quietly to his story, thanked him for remembering me beautifully, and parted ways. At that time, while meditating, I realized that since he was my friend's business partner, he had been longing for the ideal image of me that he had created in his mind for 10 years. So, I thought he was in love with the fantasy he had created. I treated him politely, like a guest who had come from afar, and just had a drink with him. He treated me to a drink and went back to Korea, and he sent me a luxury tea set sold in Korea because he found out that I liked tea more than coffee. He also enclosed a letter explaining why he missed me. I sent him a brief thank you letter for buying me the tea I liked. Because I was meditating, I was aware of the changes in the various thoughts in my mind. However, recognizing my current state of mind was even more painful at that time. Although I knew that fulfilling my desires would destroy me, I couldn't resist because my desires were so enchanting. In the end, my meditation teacher came to me personally, and I had to meet him. I cried to my teacher, pleading why I couldn't live with the person I wanted. I cried, saying I would be happy if I could have him. At that moment, my teacher listened silently to my resentful mind, and then, calling my name, he said to me, "You must go inward. There is no joy outside. It's all a fantasy created by your mind." He postponed his busy schedule and personally trained me for several days. For the first few days, I resented my teacher deeply for holding on to me and teaching me meditation against my will. I had to fight against the desire to leave secretly and the fear that it might not be right to do so. I had no choice but to meditate for a few more days, thinking that I would confidently talk to my teacher and then go see that man. However, during those few days of meditation, I began to clear away many of my thoughts and emotions. Gradually, I faced myself, who was being drawn to the realities of my fantasies, and I was able to let go of them. After a few days, I developed the determination to find and discard all remaining desirs in my mind. The will to fulfill my fantastic desirs transformed into the will to let go of my desirs. As my mind changed in this way, my teacher suddenly called me to his office and, over lunch together, advised me to go back and diligently discard the remaining emotions. With his words, an unknown force deeply engraved itself in my mind, and I became prepared to uproot all the frenzied desires in my heart. I didn't want to be a slave to the intense and dreadful domination of the monsters created by my thoughts and emotions. Looking back now, I have no desire to relive the fierce battle with the vile desires I encountered in my mind at that time. It was a process of abandoning not only my humanity, but also my entire natural self, which is both human and animal. The war that took place in my heart was a daily agony of every cell in my body being sliced by a razor. In this way, with the help of my teachers, I emerged victorious from that dreadful war. And the combat experience gained from that intense battle gave me the confidence that I wouldn't succumb to any allure of the heart monsters that might appear in the future. The fantastic me and my desires were deeply engraved as mere garbage of the mind, and I began a long journey of discarding everything about human society and myself. Subsequent meditations became an enjoyable and fulfilling journey of finding and discarding the false self within me. Years later, I visited Korea and met him. I calmly conveyed the intense battles of my mind and was able to neatly conclude our connection. While he said he felt happy to have loved such a beautiful person, I could only pray that someday he would meditate too. Looking back on the time I spent meditating, I realized that the hardest fight in the world is the one where you fight yourself to win. Whoever conquers themselves gains the world. My dear, do not be deceived by the desire called love. You're not loving others. You're loving your own concepts, customs, and body. People thoroughly love only their own concepts, customs, and bodily desires. Therefore, do not beg for love from others. Do not be deceived even by the altruistic love that humans possess. All human love in the world is false. The way to confirm this is very simple. False love never satisfies. and the hunger only deepens no matter how much love is received. My daughter, as I discover each past version of myself living in the world within my mind, and as I discard the thoughts and emotions they created, I come to realize my obsessive attachment to my body. Humans are born, but they certainly die. Yet most people dislike even thinking about death. Everyone is born and everyone dies. It's truly fair. The only difference lies in the conditions under which one is born and the conditions under which one dies. As I discard the many different aspects of myself living within my mind, I realize that my body itself is driven by appetites for food, sleep, and sex. While meditating, I came to this realization and spent a long time observing my body, which I had been meditating on, as if observing a flower for the first time, marveling at it. In that moment, the perception of my body vanished, and I could observe it in wonder, like looking at a flower for the first time. My physical body dies if it doesn't eat. It goes mad if it doesn't sleep and eventually dies. And through reproduction, it creates new bodies resembling itself. Through the sexual union of parents, my body is born, my name is given, and that name becomes my identity. With that name attached, I inherit the experiential records of my parents and ancestors through their lives lived in their bodies. They survive within me through the presence of this new body, which carries their experiences. So, it's not that I was born, but rather that the entire record of my ancestors moved into a new vessel through the act of conception and birth. Being born means becoming a new vessel containing the entire record of past ancestors. The act of birth is simply the transmission of the entire record of ancestors and the experiences of their lives into a new vessel through conception and childbirth. It's a question? Then, since dying is easier than living, is the act of striving to survive instinctual? It is instinctual. Survival is natural. Life has no concept of death. It's life because there is no death. The instinct to survive without the concept of death is instinctual. This might sound a bit complex, but it's all understandable through meditation. Humans are born to live, but human minds are trapped within the body, viewing the world from a bodily centered perspective. Thus, there is death. However, humans have the instinct of life, and through sexual acts, they regenerate their bodies, transferring everything into a new body and dreaming of eternity. Through meditation, I came to understand the previously incomprehensible violence of humans. When feeling the threat of bodily survival, humans instinctively prepare a vessel to move themselves to preserve all their bodily experiential records. Thus, throughout human history, in times of war threatening bodily survival, violent acts such as rape occurred frequently. When conditions threatening bodily survival arise, only the animal instinct of survival remains, and cultural reason and emotion vanish. Since all bodily experiences are believed to be oneself, behaviors to preserve oneself, as time goes by, become abundant. From the instinctive animal behaviors to preserve the body, people have created various new desires. I would call it human civilization and culture. For the pleasure of the body, to make it tastier, more beautiful, more fragrant. The same goes for sleep, to make it more comfortable, pleasant, and beautiful. Also for sex, to make it more enjoyable, stimulating. Desires for maximizing sensory pleasure in the body's survival pursuit have led to the development of material civilization and the flourishing of cultural aesthetics, what we call art. Fields we call art, science, and philosophy are all just emotional pleasures to make the senses of the body happy. Survival instincts, leading to the pursuit of bodily convenience, have brought about the development of material civilization, and desires for sensory pleasure have developed what we call cultural brilliance, what we call art. The difference between humans and other animals is that humans can think about instincts. Meditating, there's also joy in understanding the contents of Genesis in the Bible. While meditating, I feel myself getting smarter. Many things that were not understood become easy to understand. Everything about me is recorded in your body. Everything about your father is recorded in your body. And your body is being written on top of the old records of that body's experiences. You are you, but you're also me and your father. The roots of all your thoughts and actions lie in the thoughts and emotions about the experiences of life from all your ancestors and your parents. We could call it your deep unconsciousness. Every cell in your body is a storage unit, recording everything. When I look at you, I can see everything about myself like a mirror. And when you look at me and your father, you'll see yourself. I'll contact you again next time. Dear daughter, I used to enjoy the approaching evening time when darkness fell, much like the anticipation of waiting for a loved one. I found solace in the onset of darkness. The time that marked the end of a busy day was a moment of anticipation for me to have some time alone. While meditating and realizing that all my emotions and actions had reasons, I questioned why I enjoyed the night. I delved into my inner world to find the answer. Navigating through the tumultuous seas of my mind, I sought to find myself. Initially, I thought I enjoyed the night because I am naturally introverted, finding comfort in solitude. However, through the practice of letting go of myself, one by one, my traits were revealed and dissolved. I no longer trusted my thoughts and emotions. Through the process of letting go of myself, I learned that the causes of my thoughts, emotions, words, and actions lie within my own mind. If I don't find and uproot these causes in my mind, they will grow like a tree, spreading their seeds to create diverse jungles of the mind. Within my mind, I had an honest conversation with the part of me that enjoys darkness. I realized that I didn't necessarily like the time of dark, but rather, I appreciated the opportunity it presented to shed the masks I wore during the day. It was a time when I could be myself without any pretense or need to conform to others' expectations. The freedom to simply be me without the weight of unnecessary facades was liberating. As I discarded the multitude of masks I wore throughout the day, I discovered a sense of ease in being authentic. Throughout life, I had forged connections with numerous people, yet none fully accepted me as I am. Not my parents, siblings, spouse, children, nor friends. They all seemed to resent it when I revealed my true self. Witnessing their discomfort, I too felt hurt. Their rejection weighed heavily on my mind. As I grew older, I realized that social interactions required wearing masks. The only time I could truly remove these masks was in the darkness of night. The passing of the sun and the emergence of the moon and stars signaled a time when I could shed the burden, some weight of pretense, and just be myself. It was a moment of profound relief. The darkness bestowed upon me a blessing, the freedom from the chains of societal norms and expectations. In the quiet of the night, I found solace in being true to myself. The shackles that had bound me to societal conventions fell away, and I reveled in my newfound liberation. Meditation became my refuge. Whenever I closed my eyes, I could see the genuine flow of my innermost thoughts and emotions, allowing me to let go of them. In the present moment of meditation, I found contentment, whether it was day or night. Living among people necessitated wearing various masks. However, now these masks no longer felt burdensome. Understanding that life is but a dream, I embraced the roles assigned to me on the stage of existence, much like a skilled actor in a captivating play. I will talk to you soon, my daughter.